Hi, this is Jason working with my model Jake. You see here the existing length that he came into the shoot with a very long beard. This is going to be a very fun haircut where you see a big transformation with this gentleman. As I start to cut the hair, see I create a division line that's going from the back all the way to that front hairline. And the reason why I start separating that is because I want to start to build myself a foundation. I'm going to go in there and cut with clippers, but cutting with clippers, I want to cut more to the shape of the hair itself. So I want to see just a little bit more of a buildup of weight as I move up the head shape. So I go in with my clipper comb, utilizing my Palmetto Pro Tool clipper. And if you see, I start off my first length on the sides to get my guideline, which is going to be more based on guest desire. I love starting my haircuts on the side so that way I can involve my guest within that consultation so they can see if it's short enough for him. As I move around the ear, you see that I slightly fold that ear down, utilizing my clipper comb, and the hair that I'm really focusing on is that slightly at the spine of the comb, moving my way up the head shape, making sure that I'm floating off of the head so that way I maintain some weight as I continue to move up through the parietal ridge area. You see here, just maintaining that elevation. You see that clipper direction that I'm utilizing is just a little bit more of a horizontal clipper direction. As I move around the hairline in the back, I'll start working with a little bit more of a diagonal clipper position. Folding that ear down again is going to be key, and you see I use the spine of the comb to just slightly hold that ear into place as I continue to cut. Through the sides, if you see, I continue in the same exact manner that I did on the opposite side. So diagonal sections on both sides is really going to help me maintain consistency within the shape that I'm trying to create here. Here you see I go in now with my blade, and as I'm utilizing that blade, you see my focus is first on the toe of the clipper, and then as I move into that, you see I'm using just a little bit more of the heel of the clipper. So here, just combing that hair down, and as I go to the back to slightly taper, I like working my way from the center and always out to the sides. Look, as I continue to do that, you see I'm using more of the toe and then the heel. So I'm cutting almost like at a 45 to say building some weight as I move up the head shape. You can see here that tapered look. A lot of times for a gentleman, this is going to give him just a little bit of more mileage for his haircut, meaning that's going to last a little bit longer. So here, just folding that ear down again in the same position, and I work exactly in the same manner that I did on the opposite side. Here you see that I slightly tilt the clipper because I just want to cut that bottom edge of the hairline. As I move to the sides, working in the same manner, really focusing more on utilizing the heel of my clipper to maintain some of that weight. Through the top, you see that I take a section that's going to go from that crown area all the way to that front hairline, and I'm going to utilize this as my first guide to cut. This is all going to be based on guest desire and what's going to be most suitable for your guests. So working here with Jake, you see that I'm creating basically a guide that's going to come from that crown to the front hairline. So it's slightly convex to the head shape, and as I work towards the front, I maintain just a little bit more of a flatter line, utilizing more the tips of my scissors because I want to create just a little bit of more separation in those ends. Working my way towards the front, and it allows me also to maintain just a little bit of more length at that front hairline. As I work my way from the back to the front, I'm going to use diagonal sections. It's going to be just a little bit easier for me to control. And as you see here, it's almost like I'm connecting the dots from that bottom all the way to the guideline that I set on the top. Again, utilizing the tips of my scissors so that way I can maintain a little bit of separation with the hair. A lot of times hair needs some separation in order to have a little bit of more movement. So really what I'm taking off is that slight corner that he previously already had. Again, working with my diagonal sections. Clean section is always going to be essential within our haircut. If you see, my over direction is just slightly back onto my previously cut. And as I move to the front hairline, you'll see that I have a little bit of a strong over direction so that way I can maintain and preserve some length. You could always go back and refine if needed. Working with your guests, I like maintaining that length. Is very important, especially for gentlemen that have any receding hairline. You maintaining that weight is going to be essential for that individual. Here you see the only difference that I have here is that I'm going to work my way from the top to the bottom, working on the opposite side. Again, you see that I'm getting that guide from that top, cutting from top to bottom, and then working my way in that same manner to taking clean sections, diagonal sections again, slight diagonal back. It's going to help me slightly push some of that weight. And as I continue cutting here, you see again the strong over direction that we have towards that front hairline, over directing that hair back to maintain some of that weight and length. And here just making sure that I have even balance within my haircut. So you see I'm just bringing up just that center, and I just want to make sure that I don't have any strong peaks within that. Here you have some steady grip. Apply a dime size amount to the palm of your hand. As I apply that dime size amount, I'm going to make sure that I have even distribution of the product within my hands. So that way as I apply it through the hair, I want to make sure it goes all the way from the base to the ends. It's going to give me just a little bit of more muscle within the blow dry. With my 407 and blow dry, if you see here, I'm using more of a flat wrap technique, just bringing all that hair forward. As I cut the top, I'm going to take my same sections that I took originally for the haircut to create just a little bit of more separation through those ends. So as I go through the haircut, I'm going to go back to the same original sections that I took, and what I'm creating is just a little bit of more separation within that hair again, so that way I have just a little bit of more movement. It gives them more options for styling. So continue working my way all the way to the front. What I'm looking at is where's the most amount of density within each section that I take, over directing all that hair back. And you see that through that center is just a little bit heavier, so I'm going to have a little bit more of a focus of removal of weight within that area, so that way I have basically the same amount of separation amongst those ends. And you see here just a little bit more of that removal. On the opposite side, I'm going to do exactly the same. Working with my diagonal sections, elevating that hair up. Also, if you see, maintaining my fingers almost at the base of the hair, so it gives me just enough room so I could remove the weight. So I want to make sure that as I grab that hair, my fingers stay really at the base of it, so I can start to stretch that fabric all the way out, and I'm going to work parallel to the hair. So again, just slightly bringing the head back so that way it's easier to control. Maintaining just a little bit of distance from your fingers and the hair, so that way as you're cutting, you could go in just a little bit deeper. The deeper that I go with it, the more separation that I'm going to create within that. Now going with my trimmer and just cleaning up any little hairs that you have in the neck. I think this is one of the most important with gentlemen. You know, as you're working with your guests, making sure that you get all those little hairs. And here you see, working with Jake's beard, I'm working with my clipper comb, and I'm going in more with a clipper over comb. A lot of times for a gentleman, I like utilizing clipper over comb, because that way I could remove the weight wherever necessary. I'm not looking for the beard to be completely even. What I'm looking at for it to be balanced, which is going to be very different. So a lot of times for a gentleman, he could have some areas where he has just a little bit of more thickness or more hair, and some areas just a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do is just remove a lot more weight wherever the hair is thicker. As I go to that bottom hairline, you see here, utilizing my clipper, I'm just bringing up that line so that way it follows just slightly below his jaw. And what this is going to do is going to just help me take away some of the roundness that he had before with the beard. So my goal is to make him look just a little bit more linear. As I work my way up, you see, just utilizing more of my clipper over comb, it really allows me to customize. So I think about many times, just like when you have a tailored piece of clothing, haircut should be the same way. It should be tailored to that individual's bone structure. So working with this beard, I want to tailor it that's going to bring out the best features of Jake. Combing that hair downward, if you see, also just slightly tilting that head back, just allows me to work below the jawline. As I continue working my way down, I'm maintaining just a little bit of more length through that beard. Here on the sides, I'm going to utilize my scissor just for some of that detail work for the beard. Really detailing all those little hairs that tend to just stay out from the beard. Now I'm going to go in with my trimmer Going in with the trimmer to create that goatee look for Jake. We've seen already what he looks like with a beard. And here what we're gonna do is just give him a slightly different look. Now I'm taking it down to a goatee, and the purpose of this is just to give you options, to show you the approach that you can have if you have an individual that wants to maintain his beard, and what happens with the guy that he just wants a goatee and he wants to get rid of it. So if you see, I start that on the sides, taking that length all the way out. I'm using as a guideline the corner of his mustache, and then taking that all the way through. If you see, I keep it just slightly below the jawline. If I had someone that was a little bit wider in the face, I would maintain that line just a little bit lower. And here I'm gonna give them some choppy sideburns. You know, a lot of times a guest comes in and they're looking for different options within their sideburns. So this is just gonna give you just a better view of how to approach that. So if you see, I'm using the bottom of the ear, and it has just a slight diagonal towards the front, removing a lot of that hair with my trimmer. So if you see here, just little tricks, I'm stretching out the skin. As I stretch out the skin, it's gonna allow me really to get in and cut that hair as short as needed. I'm gonna work my way the same way with that trimmer from the top to the bottom, because I really just wanna define that line. Once I've defined that line, now I'm gonna start taking down some of that length. So I'm gonna utilize my trimmer and my comb, because it's not that long of a length. What I'm looking for is just removing some of that bulk. On the opposite side, I'm gonna do the same. When doing this, it's key to always utilize the mirror, so that way you maintain balance within both sides. Can you see here Jake with his sideburns? Just both views of it, right? Just trying to give him just a little bit of a different look. And now I'm gonna go in and just take the sideburns down to give him just a little bit more of a conservative look. Cutting down, I'm utilizing more the jaw to create where that sideburn is going to live. So I'm looking at facial features, where the head is, where the face is a little bit wider, and I'm utilizing that. And now I'm gonna go in and just take off his goatee. You know, working with Jake and just seeing, you know, the great features that he had, I thought that it was a lot better to be able to just keep him with just a little bit of a shadow within that. You know, so I go in with my trimmer, so that way he maintains that look of a little shadow. So it gives him almost that look like if he shaved and 2 or 3 days have passed by. Utilizing construction paste from Mitch, my elastic mesh styler, I'm gonna apply that in the palm of my hand. As I apply that, you see that I'm gonna rub it all the way through. And as I rub that, it's warming up that product. And as I create that warmth, what I'm looking for is I'm getting just a little bit more of that hold within it. As I apply it, I'm gonna go from the back to the front to the back in a circular motion, so that way I make sure that I get that product all the way from the base to the ends. It's very important that we educate our guests on proper application of product, as many times they'll just focus on the ends of it instead of getting that product all the way to the base to maintain just a little bit more of that volume and elevation that I've created with that. Utilizing my fingers in a raking motion as I bring that hair just slightly back to maintain just a little bit more of that separation. And if you see here, the end result that we have for Jake, just a nice haircut all the way through with a nice building shape, and hope you all enjoy.